want to share something. I asked Christina when she asked me to come up. I said I want to share something that's important to me to share with you around education. So we must control the education of our children. And what I mean by that is that the people must control, not the system. Some of these systems are not designed to produce greatness in our children. Amen. Some of our children go into these systems, and these systems are hostile to our children. We must control the education of our children. And I'm going to share what that means in a minute. You can just go to the next slide. So what is this? Anybody want to take a guess?
A crater.
A crater looks like a cannon. Anybody else?
Black hole.
Would you go down in there?
No.
Well, that is a diamond mine. Would you go down in there? That is a diamond mine. And when you think about mining for diamonds, right? It's a dangerous job. In order to go down into a mine to extract a diamond from that mine, you have to build a structure to get down there to make sure that the mine doesn't collapse on you. You have to create a ventilation system so that you can get air and oxygen. It's a very, very dangerous task. Yet people do this job because they recognize the value of what's deep beneath the earth. Are diamonds. They're valuable. They're diamonds in the rough. And to go into the mind is a dangerous thing. Because they have barriers and different things that they put up to prevent us from connecting with them as a result of social and emotional trauma that is experienced through growing up in hostile environments that is based on historic oppression and racism. You know, we talk about it's hard in the hood. The question I always ask is, how do we get to the hood? How do we go from the pyramids to the projects? There's a story there that's often untold. But our children are a product of us suffering in this country for years. And so, we have to be tough. We have to be hard. Hard for these streets, right? Somebody look at you, look at them. What's up? Look at everybody, look at you. Right? All of that is based on a defense mechanism that is needed. It's not, it's actually a survival skill. It's actually resilience because we've come up so hard and had to deal with so many different experiences that trust is a hard thing to establish. So when you go into that mind and you're trying to reach that young person, you have to be prepared that the mind may collapse on you. You have to understand that you're going into a dangerous situation. But you also have to know that what's in that mind is valuable. There's a diamond there. Can we go to the next slide? So you didn't know I was going to be giving you instructions, but I spoke to you the other week. What's that?
A rock. Coal.
Rock? Who said coal? Somebody said coal? It's close. It's a lump of coal. But what it really is this is what the diamond looks like when you first bring it out of the mine. Yep. It has a lump of coal around it, or what they call a dross. And so when we first meet our children, we don't see the diamond that sparkles. We see this. This is all the things that they have experienced. This is their defense mechanism. So this, let me show you how this plays out in school, right? This is a diamond with a drawstring around it. So how it plays out amongst human beings is student cursing you up and down. Upside, one side, down the other.
That's my social worker.
I have had students in my experience who have cursed me out so bad that I actually lost weight. I said, my goodness. That's that dross. That dross is, why you not coming to class, and they give you that attitude, or you say, well, you need to improve yourself, and they resist against you, and they give you all of this energy. They give you that smoke. Oh yeah, I'm still hip hop. That's me, my break dance. Yeah, I still know. So that dross. So how do you get this dross to turn into the next slide? You got beautiful guys. How do you go from that dross to that? It's through love. But it's not sucker love.
Not at all.
I'm not sitting around here telling you, oh no, Shaniqua, what is your problem? Talk to me. No, because all that's going to do is like, get out my face. I'm not trying to hear that. I remember one time I saw a teacher, this class disrespected this teacher, and the teacher brought the class pizza, and the class said to the teacher, we don't want your pizza. And then the teacher begged, please eat my pizza. And the class said, we don't want your pizza. And she said, please. She said, fine, give me the pizza. They played a psychological game with her, made her think that they were doing a favor for her trying to bribe them. No. Intense, the way you get to this is that strong love. It's that intense heat and pressure. And through intense heat and pressure, getting up on you and saying, you're going to be something, you're going to be great, and I'm going to hold you accountable. It's through that the dross melts away. And the diamond that everybody loves comes into the view. And that's the process of education that I see as it relates to our children. It requires patience on the part of the person who's minded. It requires love. It requires taking a lot. I remember someone asked me, how many chances you going to give as a student of mine, Darnell? I said, as many chances as he needs. How many chances does Johnny get in the suburbs?
That's right.
We're so quick to throw out young people.
Right.
So quick to discard them. Like we wasn't young and we didn't go through the same process. If you would have known me when I was 16, you would have said, oh, he's headed down the wrong way. But someone was patient with me. And because they were patient with me, I was allowed to grow. We cannot crush the spirit, especially of our young men. We cannot break that leadership lion spirit. But we have to guide it, correct it, direct it, and check it. So this is the process. And this is what you should be on the watch for as parents, grandparents, and what have you. If the people who are, if there's a saying, those who won't treat you right will not teach you right. So be mindful of how people are treating your child. Next slide. So, schools were not designed to properly educate us. Schools are places of training, not places of education. And there's a difference. To train is to condition. So I was watching Jimmy Kimmel one night, and there was a dog, and they was bouncing this basketball, and they would throw the basketball to the dog, and the dog would take the basketball and shoot it into the hoop. That's training. That's not education. Because a true dog would bite the person who's throwing the ball, because he would understand who he is, what he is, and he would function as a dog. He would be his natural self. We are being trained and conditioned away from our community. We're being trained and conditioned to fit into boxes, but we're not being educated. The word education comes from a Latin word for educo. Educo means out of, to lead out of. So true education brings out of you the hidden talents that are in you. True education leads you out of darkness into light. True education leads you out of ignorance into knowledge. So an educated person is a person who's able to think critically. If you think about it, if you look at the American populace today, we're all like sheep being directed because we're not using our critical minds. We're following. Easy to lead in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. Stiff-necked, hard-hearted, and rebellious is what's going on in this country today. And this is why you got Donald Trump. This is because the people don't think, they follow. So we have to understand that when we send our children to schools, we're sending our children into environments that are not dedicated to truly educated.
It's very true.
This is real. And for my students who have children now, this is the battle that I was fighting when I was working with you. I was attacked because they understood that I knew who you were, and I wanted to make sure that you received education and not training. How do they see our children? How do they treat our children? These are the things that you need to think about when you're engaged and involved with this school system. And Yonkers?
Tell the people, tell them.
Yonkers? Bonkers. When it comes to treating our children. There are many teachers, I know because I've been here.
I'm there.
They're
I'm
good
there.
ones. They're
I'll
good
be there on
ones.
Monday.
They're good ones. They're all good
You're very
teachers
right.
in Yonkers. But there are too many teachers who don't care.
Too many.
Yes.
Too
And you
many.
can see by how they're turning our children out into the street. As women, you must be watchful. You must be proactive. The first teacher of all of us is women. You cannot give up your vanguard position as mother, grandmother, auntie, what have you. And I would recommend that you become not just active in terms of as a parent, but become active in organizations and active in terms of politics. Because if we don't understand that there's a political component to education, then we're out of the game.
So true.
People, for my teachers, I remember when I first went into teaching, I said, why is everything so political? I thought we were supposed to be helping children. And that was me being naive. But then I came to a realization that it's supposed to be political at the school level. Because this is where you're deciding who's the future doctors, engineers, lawyers, prisoners, service workers.
All the pipeline.
People are being tracked. Right? So if you're not political, if you look at if you go to any school community that's usually not urban, you see the parents are very active and they're very political and they push up on people on behalf of their children. They make people feel uncomfortable. And then when they say, what are you doing for our children? And a politician responds and gives them some money, they don't go, oh great, they say that's not enough. When are you going to give us some more? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? You have to demand something from the system, and the only way that happens is when you have a political base. I'm looking in this room, this is a political base. You could run for office. That's how it goes. It happens like that in every community. So, you are most qualified to deal with the emotional, social, and educational development of our children. If it's not women, who's it going to be? And so I want to applaud you for coming together as a collective and doing what you're doing. And I want to encourage you to continue to do programs like this and build a movement in this community, in this part of New York, on behalf of children. And raise your collective voices. Raise your collective voices, not individual, collective voices on behalf of our children. Right now, and I'll close on this point, I'm working in New York City. I work with several schools. We just had a meeting in September. I had a meeting and over 300 educators came out. And it was the first time, we call it a gathering of black educators. And it was the first time that many educators came out and said, we're going to do something for our children. right? And we're gonna be political. We're not gonna just have scholarships. We're not just gonna, and that's great, but we're not gonna just do that. We're gonna push up. We're gonna find out what the policies are. We're going to be advocates for our children. There's too many things going on in our schools. I'm looking at, there was an incident here in Westchester County of racism in the school. Some private school, I believe. There was an incident in Roosevelt, Long Island, where they brought nooses to schools. There was an incident in the Bronx where they had children, white children, that were a slave auction, and there were black children who were the slaves who were being bidded on. There was another incident in the Bronx where a white principal refused a black teacher to teach the Harlem Renaissance to black students during Black History Month. If we don't understand that we are at war, and we have to step up our level of urgency on behalf of our children, then we're going to lose them. So this organization that we're starting is a group of educators who are going to now begin to respond to these things in a collective manner.
Yeah.
I could raise my voice, I'm one person, but the power of the collective cannot be denied. So I thank you. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so happy to see some of my former students, and I thank you for just taking time to listen to what I had to say.
That's